सदाशिवसमारम्भां शिखराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Okay, any questions, clarifications, or shall we go ahead? Yeah, sir. Karthik. Sorry, Sagar.
So, Ramji, as a student, when we start from the Gita, and now we are at Brahma Sutra. In the Gita only, in the Karma Yoga, Ishvara Arpan Karma Buddhi has been covered. And here also, again, we are touching on the same thing.
Yes.
So, does it highlight an issue with the student, or it highlights something else?
No, I'll tell you because the Brahma Sutras are an analysis of the Gita and the Upanishads, predominantly Upanishads. Okay. So what happens is some of the issues will be highlighted back again because the analysis. So what we learned predominantly as unfoldment in the Upanishads and the Gita, etc., here will come with added analysis.
Okay.
That's why the Upanishad is the main pramana, because the unfoldment happens there. Here what happens is an analytical understanding. So any doubts, this, that, etc. is further clear. So your understanding of the same topics are more refined.
Refinement happens.
Yeah, the refinement happens. Because there is more analysis in the Brahma Sutras, etc. Then, let's see, you have some Prakarana Granthas, which will take some facet and highlight it. You know? So you are actually being introduced into those topics. Now, the question was that the same things are repeated in the Upanishad and the Brahma Sutra. So the same thing will happen now later in the Siddhi Granthas. But there is not an introductory level. It's more analytical, more in-depth, more this thing. So, that you will find that. Someone is turning up after a long time. So, alright. Then, any other questions, or we can go ahead? Okay, it's page 124, I think. Okay. It says, Na chaidam brahmaitmakatva ekatva vijnanam sampadrupam yatha ananta vai mano ananta vishwadevaha anantameva tena lokam jayate. Now here comes another Purvapaksha. Today we will be saying a lot of these Purvapakshas, okay? What it says. See, all said and done, Brahma Vidya has to be gained. You can't deny that. You can't deny there is a mental activity to gaining knowledge. Because Manasa Evana Drashtavya. You are not junking the mind. So, why should it not become Sampada Upasana? Now, all Upasanas are what? Nishkrishta Vastuni, Utkrishta Vastu Aropa. The commonplace thing, you are imposing or superimposing a profound Utkrishta Vastu. Now here, there are two types of upasanas in this. Sampad Rupam and Pratika Rupam. Okay. In Sampad Rupam, what is imposed is important. Like here, he says, Yatha vai, Anantam vai manaha, Anantam Vishwadevaha. Gods, so many devatas are there. Anantam. So many thoughts are there. So you're imposing the gods on your mind. So in Sampad Rupam, what is imposed, the Ananta Deva, are important, mind is secondary. The Adhishtanam is secondary. Okay. This is one form of upasana. So what is the result of that upasana? Ananta lokaha. So here you have to understand that Anantam is a relative Anantam. Because Ananta Devas, but still a number, na? There is a number available. Even though Devas are Anantam, there is a number available. Thoughts, innumerable, but still you can classify it into a few. It's a finite. Lokas, Anantam, meaning again relative for a long time. So he says, this Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi is not like Sampadrupa Upasana. Why? See, all this comes from that same argument. Atmavare Drashtavya, culminating in Niditya Satavya. And you see, every student of Vedanta does Nididhyasana. That he is trying to convert into a Sampadupasana. In Sampadupasana, what is the Adhishteya, what is superposed, is given greater importance. The mind, etc., is not given that much importance. Okay? The focus is there. In Pratik Upasana, is the other way around. The Adhisthana is given greater importance. Like on a linga, you are invoking Shiva. So the linga is given a great deal of importance there. No? Linga itself is Shiva, like that as you look at it. Whereas here, no, the Devatas are mind. So your focus is on Devata. Aditya Yupaha iti, that's the example that will be given. Yeah. Therefore, the focus is on the Adhisthana. Adhisthana here for the Upasana, okay? Not Adhisthana, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Don't make that mistake. Yeah. So, these are the two types of Upasanas that are there. First is called Sampad Upasana, second is called Pratik Upasana. Okay. In Sampad Upasana, Adhishteya is important. In Pratik Upasana, Adhisthana is important. Adhisthana, Adhishteya, Adhisthana, etc. for the sake of Upasana. Not as Adhisthana as Satyamithya. No, that's not what we are talking about here. So, he says, so you cannot interpret this in that terms. Why? Because there is a manasa kriya. Here is purely cognitive. So it can't be Sampad Upasana. Okay? Nor he says, Nacha Adhyasa Rupam Yata Mano Brahmeti Upasita. Mind itself is Brahman. Therefore, the focus is on the mind. Okay, focus is on the mind. Or Aditya Brahmeti Padesha. Aditya is nothing but Brahman Ishvara. So what are you doing? You are worshipping Aditya. So which is given greater importance? Aditya. Therefore, Pratik Upasana. Okay. Iti cha Mana Adityeshu Brahma Drishta Adhyasa. This is also Adhyasa. The only difference is it is done consciously. Whereas when you are mistaking in the Adhyasa Bhasha, when you are talking about mistaking a shell for silver, it is not a conscious process. It's a clear mistake. Whereas here, it's a conscious process. What are you doing? You are taking some guna, Ekadesh guna, lots of devatas, lots of thoughts, something common, unfortunate. Okay? Or Vayu and Pralaya devours everything up. So the prana also devours everything you put into the stomach. Therefore, Vayu is invoked on the prana. So there are pratika, pratika. Now, what is the difference between them is only where the focus is. But in both of them, there is a conscious adhyasa. Only we don't call it adhyasa because it's a conscious process. When you are saying the linga is Shiva, the stone is Shiva, you know it's a stone. you're not seeing the stone. Whereas when you bent to pick up that piece of silver, you did not see the shell. This major difference is there. You did not see the shell. You saw only silver. Whereas here you are seeing the stone linga all right. And it's a conscious decision now. So that is why you need an elaborate prana pratishtha, etc., for your mind to be able to accept it. And plus you want the energy's manifestation. So all that, that's a big thing, theory behind it. Okay. So that is sampad or pratika. It cannot be either. Why? Because the duality is evident. It does not negate the duality. You know the devatas are different from the mind. And you're still invoking it. You know the yupaha, the sacrificial pose is not aditya, still you're invoking it. So your awareness of the difference is there, it is not gone. Okay? Awareness of the difference is not gone. It is within the field of duality. And any phalam within the field of duality is not moksha, because it's finite. It's experiential. Result you will get, of course you will get. You do the prana upasana, of course you will get result. Do this type of prana upasana that devours everything. You will not put on weight. Why? Everything is devoured. The fat, etc. is melted away. Finite result. And since the result is finite, it can be done otherwise also. Any finite result. Kartum, akartum, anyatha akartum shakyam. Remember that. Therefore, in general, we will say what? Any worship has got adhyasa in it. Conscious adhyasa, that's all. Conscious adhyasa. Why? It becomes an alambana. Why do you need it? You don't need it, no? But if you need it, because you want an alambana. Because you cannot directly envisage the whole thing. That's all. You need a focal point. You need a focal point. See, this will happen in anything. Like in yoga, you are doing tratak. You can do tratak anywhere. That water bottle is good for me to do the tratak. But, yeah. But your mind may not stick there. Your focus may be. Therefore, you will create an environment for it. You will switch off all the lights, light a lamp, only the flame. Right? Because you're using an alambanam so that your mind can focus on it. That is why in every worship there is a dhyanam involved. Whether it is chanting Vishnu Sahasranama or you're doing worship, there is dhyanam. What is dhyanam? Bhagavan is described in a particular manner. That is dhyanam. Why? Hey, now this is what you're going to focus on. This is Bhagavan for you.
See, alamban and adhishtan.
Yeah.
Difference.
In this it means the same. In this case it means the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're using it as a help for you to focus on it. The dhyana will be described in a certain way. Like Dakshinamurti is described. Sitting under a banyan tree, this, that, etc. But all Dakshinamurtis are not like that. Sitting under a banyan tree. There are murtis without that. Coimbatore, go check out the murti, the Coimbatore temple. There is no banyan tree. Rishikesh, there is no banyan tree. But in our ashram we are going to put the banyan tree.
So a lot of people do upasana on Om, so
Yeah.
Om can be taken as the
Yeah,
pratika
same
of
thing.
Brahma.
Yeah,
Knowingly or unknowingly, I mean.
exactly.
No, I mean then there is deliberate.
The duality is
the
there.
duality.
duality is there.
But you know that
Yeah.
there is a. It's
Yeah,
a duality.
exactly. In Adhyasa, when that happens as a mistake, you don't know the difference. That's why here is the conscious that's all. But it is still Adhyasa. It's still Adhyasa. That's why remember, don't forget that Adhyasa Bhashya statement. Yam Adhyasam Puraskritya Sarve Pramana Prameya Vyavahara. All keeping the Adhyasa in view.
becomes a logical.
Even the study of Vedanta. Why I have to take myself as a finite being? Nah. So, yeah.
Can you say this is similar to how a jnani will behave in the society?
There, yeah, in a way it is like that. He knows, but there he knows a non-duality and is accepting the duality for functioning purposes.
But it is coming from a point of knowledge.
No, exactly. It's coming from a point. He knows it's the ulta thing. It's the exact opposite actually. Pashwad Vishya Vishesha, this is no. It's a spontaneous behavior. Why? Because you are manifest in a body, so you will behave with that.
So Shakespeare was Gyani.
I don't think so.
He says no.
All the world is the
the
same.
same.
So what happens is sometimes, if you are a thinker, you will get some insights. So what is this insight? That we are all playing roles. But what is the real? He didn't talk about.
That it
Yeah. He didn't talk about what is the real. He only knows that we are playing roles.
is. Rose.
But what is the real entity?
Yeah.
That he has not talked about. Yeah.
When I realize that everything is mithya, everything breaks, everything means everything breaks. Then you at that time you just hold on to Ishvara because that is how
Yeah,
you know
if without understanding the knowledge you are taking Mityatam, you need something to pick your mind.
to
That is Ishvara.
you hold on to Ishvara. But then once you are completely rooted in it, like it becomes a fact of your life.
Yeah.
Then still do you hold on to Ishvara for Vyavahara or
Yes,
it's not
for Vyavahara,
for
definitely. Every wise person will accept Ishvara for Vyavahara. In his own way.
Because otherwise, that's how I feel at the moment that functioning becomes impossible if you don't hold on
Yeah,
to
exactly.
It's
Ishvara.
not holding on
That
to,
is necessary.
it's acknowledgement, it's validation. You are not dependent. But hey, without Ishvara nothing will function. Without Ishvara's order nothing will happen. Therefore you
Because
invoke
otherwise
the-
everything is just
Yes,
going. So.
Yeah. So, in that way, there's validation, inclusion, everything. That's why you find Shankara, one of the greatest jnanis, how many stotras, etc., is attributed to him. Even if he did not write all of them, even if he wrote only 10% of them, still a huge number. Like certain things are accepted as Shankara, like for example, Dakshinamurti Sutra, etc. Accepted. Saundara Lahari, though they say that's a semi-tantric work, yes, it is a part of inclusion. How you take Tantra and make it also Advaita orientation is given to Tantra as well. Because everything in India was looking for moksha, so all the Shastra things are all for moksha oriented. So included. And it's a form of worship. It's a form of worship. So like each Saundara Lahari verse has a yantra attached to it. Those books are available. And that is what they are saying is correct. The yantra is correct. So, that's purely tantric form of worship. But be careful if anyone is doing Saundara Lahari, even chanting on a regular basis. Gadbad ho sakta hai, okay? Gadbad ho sakta hai, bhai. You will be too attractive to the opposite sex. Now, if you want that, fine. If you don't want that, be careful. That is one of the Avantara Phalams. But it is there. 8th verse, 13th verse, etc. makes it clear. Yeah. So it is there. It's like, why is it so in the beginning only instead of in the Falashruti? Hey, be careful before you get into the Upasana. This is one of the results that will be there. So, if that's what you want, fine, go ahead and do it. So each of them have a finite result. Each of them is an invocation. So each of them is a deliberate adhyasa done. Deliberate adhyasa done. Okay.
Swamiji, the
Yeah.
Omkar thing,
That is also same.
but it can be both, no?
You should know.
Because if you understand the...
So even if you understand, what are you doing? You are giving it a name. You have given Brahman a name.
Correct.
The closest possible.
Correct.
That's the closest possible alam. As close to the reality as possible. That's why it's given so much of importance. Yeah. But that's also an alam.
If you look at
Yeah.
Om as
Yeah.
Pratika.
Yeah. It's a pratika. Not a pratima.
Correct.
It's a pratika. Yeah. So both pratika and pratima are adhyasa rupam. Yeah.
Also, Swamiji, this sadhana chatushtayam which you have,
Yeah.
which makes you an adhikari, but it also helps you to function, and then when you negate everything, your vairagya reaches a different height only.
Yeah,
In a way.
in fact, vairagya there. See, when vairagya has at the level of a wise person, vairagya is, okay, how will I put it? You accept everything, you reject nothing, keep nothing. You accept everything. You reject nothing because where is there other than you to be rejected? You keep nothing because what are you holding on to? So it's a very different level of functioning, even vairagya. It is not like the vairagya of a student where you may consciously avoid something because you know that become a problem for you. That vairagya is different. And that may be necessary as a student because certain things will involve me. I better keep away from it. It's going to be a problem for me. I don't want that. So keep away. Good. That's a different vairagya. But it has to fulfill itself into what? It doesn't matter. If there or not there, it doesn't matter. I'm so totally independent of it. That's why to work on that emotional independence becomes very necessary. Even relatively. If you are relatively emotionally independent, then that absolute independence is very easy. Like someone asked me, can a wise person be attracted to someone? Or love somebody? I said, of course, that's human. But non-possessive, non-demanding, and let go. You may not even act on it. Why? Why complicate your life and her life? Yeah. Let it be. Yeah. You can be appreciative without the need to possess it. No? You appreciate something beautiful, fine, nice. Let it be.
It's a form of bhakti only if you look
In that way it becomes a form of bhakti only. Yeah. Because you are appreciating God's creation. God's manifesting. Swami Chinmayanji used to say, what you are loving is the consciousness that makes the person alive. Otherwise, what is there? Skin and bone and flesh. None of them is attractive. See, that is Pratipaksha Bhavana for Vairagya. So, consciousness makes the thing. Otherwise, Bharyam Bibbati Tasmin Kaye. Yavat Jivanam Jivati Dehe Jarjati Dehe. Long as the life is pulsating, then fine everything. Otherwise, dead body get disposed of fast. Okay. No, there's Vairagya coming in. All those verses are meant to create some Vairagya. Yeah. A wise person doesn't need that. Because that emotional dependency on anything is not there. You are Ananda. If you are Ananda, what Vairagya do you need? Vairagya is natural for you. Because nothing can make you happier than what you are. You are already Ananda Sarupa. So that Vairagya is different. No? That's fulfillment of Vairagya that the student had. Yeah. That's why the statement comes, Ko vidhi ko nishedaha. Do and don't for a wise person. फर्क नहीं पड़ता कुछ. That's why sometimes I'll quote Rasputin, the Russian mystic, because his life was completely haywire if you look at his life. But he could, in the midst of enjoyment, he could just walk away. No, both of them. Okay. Which many people, why do parties linger? If you are at a dinner party or something, that process of winding up this goes on for an hour. Na? Because it's a happy occasion, nobody wants to go, nobody wants it to be over. Whereas this man was not like that. I mean, the first time I read about his life was a description that he is the part of a village party going on. Whole village is there. Okay? Yes. Drinking beer, puffs of it. Literally. Okay? Surrounded by women, this, that, everything. Suddenly a messenger comes. The Tsar wants you. The mug of beer goes down. He walks away, jumps onto this horse and rides. Doesn't even pack a bag. Bhogi Jivanam. Yogi here. Complete. But people find it difficult to relate to someone like that. Therefore, teachers, sadhus, etc., they follow some sort of a code. Some sort of it. So that it's easier for people to relate to. Someone like Rasputin was coming and teaching, half of you wouldn't be there. And other people will come. Like Rajneesh's students.
Swamiji, Rasputin was close to the Tsarina, no?
Huh?
More than the Tsar. He
Yeah.
was very close to the Tsarina because of the
Yeah.
son who had
Exactly.
mythology or
Yeah.
whatever.
And he had a lot of influence on them. That's why the other lords didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, it happens. So it's difficult to relate to such a person. Therefore, some sort of code acharyas will follow to keep it balance in the thing. Not that they need that code. Kya farak pada? Really, what difference is it? No difference. Why do you need to break it? No need to break it. So, certain traditions are followed, orthodoxy is jumped. In my life, definitely, orthodoxy is jumped. Okay. Traditions are kept. And some people include a bit of orthodoxy in their life. Background, so it's okay. But back to the topic is not adhyasa rupam, so not pratikam also. Okay. Vayu vavasam, prano vavasam, samvargam, all these all upasanas where the adhisthana is given importance. The niskrishta vastu is given importance. Okay. Okay. Or he says, na api ajya avekshanadi karmavat karma samskara rupam. Now there is karma samskara. The ghee has to be offered to the fire. So the ghee is got from the ashram cows. The milk was taken, made into curds and cream taken off. Proper method was followed for making the ghee. But there is one thing. Before offering the ghee, the priest or the Yajamana's wife has to look at the ghee for purification. It's called last minute double checking. These women were expert. देख के पता लगता था ghee बराबर है क्या नहीं है. So that samskara rupam, it was considered important. Without that, you can't offer that ghee. आजकल देता है, but not. Yeah. But that's an important samskara in big yagas. Yeah. That's why you can't be a full-fledged priest unless you are married, because the wife is involved in some of these things. No person can be a full-fledged priest without being married. Okay, a temple priest and all you can be because you are not doing all the yagas, etc. But to be an acharya, to have the post of an acharya as a priest, okay, you have to be married because some of these things are involved. You must have a dampati with you, only then it can be done. Yeah. So, samskar. This is not like that. Atma eva drashtavya. Atma vari drashtavya. Look into the Atma. For what? Samskara rupa. What? The one who is trying to look requires purification, not the Atma. Ghee may require samskaras. Ghee may require verification. Good to do that. Otherwise, Tirupati laddu ka aisa ho jayega. Adulterated ghee was used. There is mass level. Therefore, quality control also has to happen at mass level, not individual level. So, at these things, Atma does not require samskara. Yeah. Atma doesn't have anything other than it to contaminate it. Therefore, all these examinations, samskara rupam, etc., not necessary. So, Atma vara drashtavya cannot be interpreted as samskara rupam. Now, look at it. He is covering all types of possibilities. Okay? So, all upasanas, understand this very clearly. All upasanas, all worship involves a deliberate adhyasa. Even if you are following agama, tantra, whatever you are doing, to set up a temple, this, that, everything, it is deliberate adhyasa. Your puja at home, you take seriously. You worship Sri Yantra, etc. That's very serious worship. Or you have kept a linga there. Okay, or a saligrama. These are all very serious worships. They will be taken seriously. Okay. But what is it? Deliberate adhyasa. Niskrishta vastuni, utkrishta vastu aropaha. This has to be kept in mind. That is why all of them can only become an alambram. You need to understand Ishvara's abhinna nimitta upadana karanam minimum. For your growth, minimum understanding is, as a student of Vedanta, your minimum understanding of Ishvara is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Then the nuances of it, Ishvara as a cosmic order, everything. Then the whole creation, etc., becomes alive. In the sense, it's all Ishvara. There is still an aspect of adhyasa there. Duality that comes in. Even if you take Ishvara as a cosmic order, etc., there is still a sense of duality coming in. You are at a great level of understanding Ishvara. Your life is very harmonious, very this thing. You handle issues effortlessly. All that is fine. Samatvam, kushalatvam, all that is great. Okay? But duality is still there. Yeah. Therefore, to understand that Ishvara is nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, non-different from me, my Swarupa is the same. That is where Vedanta really comes in. The uniqueness of Vedanta is there. Otherwise, all the Sampad Rupam, etc., is meant to make the cosmic order clearer. No? To see that one-to-one correspondence, then you are part of the whole thing. You are part of the whole, isn't it? That's what it is. Any Sampad Upasana, you are part of the whole. Therefore, that inclusiveness is keeping duality in mind, without negating the duality. Even Ishvara as a cosmic order is that. There is duality, which is necessary for my growth. Therefore, I accept it for the time being. Then to understand, as pure consciousness, there is only one. Then if you understand as pure consciousness one, then what happens? Everything is an appearance. All duality is an appearance. So appearance follows certain rules and regulations. Dharma. Simple. Dharma includes gravity, etc. Okay? Understand, when I say dharma, it is not just ethics. Gravity is also part of it. Yeah. Electricity is also part of it. All because dharayati iti, what sustains the universe. So, the order comes from functioning then. In reality, you and Ishvara are one and the same. Then there is some order in functioning. But functioning is limited. Order is also limited. Order is not a rigid order. The order is not a rigid order. Highly flexible, like the Matrix. That's why that movie was good, the first one. So, the flexibility of the order is because that's the nature of functioning. That's the nature of manifestations. Nothing is rigid. In creation, what is rigid? Rigid things will not survive. The rigid will not survive. Okay? The tree is rigid, it breaks in the storm. The bamboo is not rigid, it survives the storm. The soft and the yielding will always overcome the hard and the rigid. The martial arts statement, okay? In martial arts, you all think everything is hard. The beginning. After that, learn to be like water, my friend. Soft and yielding. But it always overcomes the rock, which is hard and rigid. So what happens when you throw a rock into the Red Sea? It gets wet, okay? I don't expect any. What am I doing? Your pattern of seriousness breaking it, okay? That rigidity of thinking, no. Be flexible there. With the serious and the ridiculous and the sublime should go together. Then Vedanta will be clear. The mind should be able to handle that.
So what will happen if you throw a rock into the Dead Sea?
It will float. Just below the surface.
Yeah.
Because the Dead Sea water the salt content is very high.
Yeah.
Just under the surface it will float. So, all these, he says, is not Atma Swarupam. That means what is the conclusion from this? The conclusion will be what? Okay. That Jnanam evatu kaivalya. Knowledge itself is moksha. There is nothing to be done after that knowledge. See, the question is here. The question is, we do nididhyasanam afterwards. No? Okay. In fact, most of us require nididhyasanam, except the student mentioned in the Upanishads. Okay. All of us require lots of nididhyasanam. Now, nididhyasanam doesn't mean you don't know. Nididhyasanam is necessary because you can't make it a fact of your life. Your old conditionings prevent you from this thing. Or to put it in simpler terms, what has gone in through the years should sink to the heart. That's all. That's all. So what you need is Nididhyasanam. So it is not that at the end of Nididhyasanam you have become free. You learned you are free in Shravanam. You just let your mind soak up that knowledge and it becomes yours. Because in the mind, what we say na, बहुत भूसा भरा हुआ था. Lot of nonsense was filled in my mind. Yeah. From your upbringing onwards, lot of nonsense is filled in. If you are brought up with the idea that you are useless, good for nothing. यार से ना पढ़ाई करके क्या करेगा? Don't be happy with small things. Don't struggle too much. Why do you have to do all that? Life, of course, is all about the known and the unknown. Certain things you can achieve. We are all simple people. You should be content with this. Typical middle class upbringing that all of us went through. But that becomes a problem. Oh, moksha and all is not for us. Rishis will get it. Don't have the guts to try. So from that onwards, all this stuffed into my mind. So when all that thing is stuffed inside, you need a lot of Nididhyasana to overcome those issues. No? That's why my self-esteem workshop starts with what? Your childhood messages, the messages you received in childhood and what problems are created in your mind. Not that your parents and elders were bad people. They didn't know any better. Not that their intentions are bad. No. They didn't know how. They didn't know how. That's all. So they got into all these issues you got into. But it's a valid issue. You have that issue in front. You can't handle it. So, Nididhyasana is only removing these blocks which prevents the knowledge from flowing through into my life. Nididhyasana does not create moksha. Nididhyasana does not create moksha. Shravanam does not create moksha. Yeah, knowledge does not create moksha. Knowledge is a recognition that I was never bound. So none of these. Therefore, even knowledge is not a process. It looks like a process. Adhyaropa, apavada, nyaya, etc., etc. That is meant for your mind. This is a pen. What process is involved? No process involved. So Upanishad says you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. Equally clear. No, it is not. It's Pramana. It should be clear. This is clear. And the Pramana is giving direct, immediate knowledge. No? That indirect knowledge business we have jumped long back. So the knowledge given is direct and immediate. Like perception. Atma Vare Drashtavya. It should be fine. You are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That's it. हो गया काम. But because it's Shabdatmakam and it is non-descriptive, this has to be understood well. It is not a description. Give to the description, hey, this is a gel pen, one half is black, this is silver and with a little bit black at the side. Description is different. It's non-descriptive. Why is it not descriptive?
Because Nirguna, na?
Is
I
Nirguna?
can't objective.
Nirguna means what? It's not an object of your perception. It's not a finite entity for it to be described. Therefore, Lakshana is necessary. Your implied meaning. For implied meaning, you need little sometimes handling the words. That handling the words is the methodology of teaching. That is why all the thing comes in. Adhyaropa, Apavada, etc. comes in. Because there is a methodology there of unfold, of making the word means what it means. Why? Because through finite words, you are understanding what is limitless. Words are limited. Through limited words, you are understanding the limitless. Therefore, there is a process of handling the words. Therefore, there is some process involved there. But once you know there is no process, Atma, yes. That's it. Finished. Okay. Direct after that. Remember we saw that at the end of Vedanta Paribhasha. Pramana. Direct knowledge is said, no? Yeah. Therefore, you don't need even Lakshana. You need Lakshana until you understand. Once you understand, you don't need that.
Yeah, then you don't even say, I am Atma.
Yeah,
Atma.
you don't understand that. Yeah. Direct, immediate. So, that looks like a process because of this. Okay? Because Vakya Deva Avakyartha Pratipatti. By the words alone, you understand what is beyond the words. Beyond the words means it's non-descriptive. But you are understanding it through words. Therefore, it looks as though there is a process involved in it. And there is a clean-cut methodology, and that's important that teachers understand that methodology. Otherwise, they can't be teachers. That's why Anena Proktaha Gatiratra Nasti. याद है ये सेंटेंस Kathopanishad. Yama saying, na narena avarena prokta. By a lesser person, if they said, you won't get it. Gati hi nasti. Gati hi nasti, he says. No? Gati is not there. Why? Because of this. Methodology is not there. If the methodology is not there, how can you teach? Therefore, there is a methodology, there is a process. Why? Because Shabdatmakatvat, because in the form of words. And it is outside all your experiences. Atma is not within any experience of yours, other than the fact I am. That much is there, thank God. It is other than everything that you have experienced. It is other than everything that you have known or unknown. There are a lot of things you know, a lot of things you don't know. This is other than all of them. Because of all these factors, okay, there is a vichara on this. And there is a methodology of unfolding. That's very important. That's why if you go to a teacher who is not a Sampradayavit, you are not going to get it.
Also, Swamiji, as you said that it's not an experience and only that I am. And that I am also because I am manifested.
Yeah.
Because in this body...
I am there in the mind.
In the mind.
Yeah.
So...
That is it. So that is also not an experience. It looks like, but it is not. I am is I am. That's why in Saddarshanam, Ramana starts with a bang like that. Satpratyaya kinnu vihaya santam hriddesha chinta rahita hrudakyaha katam smarami tat ameyam ekam tasya smritir tasya dridaiva nishta. How do I think of that? To think of it is to be that. You can't think of the Atma. I am the Atma. What do you think of it? I. Anything you think of will be other than the Atma, isn't it? Think of anything will be other than the Atma. No, Swamiji, I am thinking Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Really? Where did you get that from? Oh, Taittiriya Upanishad. So are you thinking about Taittiriya Upanishad? Or are you thinking about Atma? If you are thinking of the Atma, there is no more thought. सत्य में आनंदम ब्रह्मन, उसके बाद क्या है? नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, बस बैठ जाओ. Can you see? So don't reduce the teaching to a thought process. When you see Satyam Jnanam Anantam, it should be very clear, this is me. Not that in Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahman is described as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Sounds nice. A nice way to write a book. That's not Vedanta teaching. Writing a book, you can write like that if you want to. Like one of the editors of a great magazine is no more. Vakil. Okay. Macmillan's and all. He was an editor. He says, why does your Swami talk like this? He says, what? Why doesn't he say, in the Upanishad there is this brilliant verse, and explain that? So I laughed. He said, you're laughing at it, yes. I said, you're talking about it academically, whereas he's trying to show that the content of the verse is you. Oh, how was that? I said, come listen. Or kya bolega? Come and listen. Where am I going to say anything else? So can you see? That's why the whole teaching is different from learning it in a college. College you will study the idea of moksha in Vedanta, Sankhya, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita. Perceptions of the Atma in various schools. So all sounds very brilliant, very informative. Where are you? Whereas a classical student of Vedanta may not know what is the view of the Atma in Nyaya. पता नहीं. Vedanta में मुझे पता है. What I am, I know. Yeah, you may not know all the academic things. May not know, may know. Depends on how much you are studying, how much scholarly he has become. Because if a little bit of scholarly means all these are Purva-pakshas. But you throw a Purva-paksha at someone who understands it traditionally, you throw a Purva-paksha at the person, whether he has heard that Purva-paksha before or not, he'll be able to answer it in his own way. Why? Because very clear it is not true. What is the fallacy in logic is seen. Because the Vedanta mind is a highly logical mind also. It can cut across logic and see the truth of things. So, that is what you develop your mind as to understand Vedanta. You study logically and then crack a joke at the whole thing. That's where you reverse the logic, na? What do you think I've been doing in the classes? I'm not an entertainer. If you want an entertainer, go listen to Steve Harvey. Or so many stand-up comedians are available, some good ones are also there. Yeah. It's part of that training that mind to see that. So once you see that, things are clear. Therefore, moksha is not the end result of a process. It's self-recognition. Therefore, that it is not upasana form of any form goes out of the window. Well, then what next? What next? Next class now, okay? Sampadadi Rupe, a little bit here he goes in terms of Tattvamasi, etc. Okay? That we will see next class. Good place to stop. Oh, that's all. Those who want to come for the camp and not registered, please do so, okay?